Alright guys, welcome back, and in today's video we're going to be doing video. So by the end of the day today, by the end of this particular lesson, you guys should be able to take footage that you've got from your cell phone, from a camera, donated from other organizations or your staff in the field, and put it together into short, simple, clear videos used for promotion, for celebrating an event, for fundraising, and for highlighting your work or the landscapes or the wildlife in which you work with. Now, obviously, in a single video, we can't cover every single topic in filmmaking, and so this is going to be more of a practical guide on using a simple tool to do it quickly and efficiently. And this is probably going to be a two-part video. We'll kind of do the first one on the actual video making using a built-in free video editor that is on everybody's computer. And then we'll also show a little bit of work doing some very simple animations and logo intros and outros using a free online platform. So, of course, everything we're doing here is using free open source software or software that's already on your computer. So the program that we're going to be using is called Video Editor. So to open it, you literally just click on your start menu and type Video Editor, and it's going to pop up. You might see something like this, and we're going to start by creating a new video project. And we'll give it a title. So I'm going to call this Test Video 1. So just going through the way this works, this is a little bit different than a professional video editing software, as you might imagine. This is a very, very simplified tool to make videos. And so I'll just show you briefly the layout of this arrangement. So first of all, we can always change the name of our video up here with this little edit button. We've got an undo forward. We've got some kind of default built-in background music, as well as a opportunity to upload our own audio files. We've got the finished video, which is essentially when we're done with it, we're going to export it. And we've got our options menus up here. Now, going through the options menu, we'll do that in a second, but I'll just finish showing you the layout here. This is your library. So this is all of the source files for your video production. So you might need your photos that you're going to use if you're going to make a video slideshow. You'll need your actual video clips will be in here. If you're going to put logos or graphics or text or anything else, you can drag those in here as well. And then here you have your preview pane with some controls as well as a full screen option. And this is your storyboard. And so the way this video editor works is you basically just drag and drop your various clips into your timeline. And it works by creating storyboards. And in addition, you can add text and title cards just by selecting here. And so we'll go through all that in a second. We're going to begin by just checking some settings. So first of all, we have duplicate project. If we put together a large project and we don't want to have to recreate it again, but we want to use the same style for a new video, this is a great way to save time. So once you've done everything and you've got your intros and your outros and you've got your texts and your transitions and your animations all arranged nicely, this is a great trick to not have to do that again and again for your next video. So you just duplicate the whole video, give it a new title, and then you can just go through and change out the images and the videos and the music or whatever you want. Backup project will basically export it so that you could open it on a second computer if you wanted. And then we've got our aspect ratio. And so once again, the standard aspect ratio for video is going to be 16:9. However, you can default it to 4:3, which is the standard photo aspect ratio. So if you wanted to do a photo slideshow in full resolution mode rather than full widescreen, you could use this aspect ratio. And if you were designing it specifically for mobile, you could make it portrait. And so that would rotate it 90 degrees. And so this would be for more use for like YouTube and Facebook stories, where people are more likely to read them in a vertical orientation. As a filmmaker, I am old school. I prefer the standard 16:9 landscape mode. It just looks nicer for me. All right. Moving on from there, we're going to skip the feedback. You can have the settings. And once again, you can go through all of this and just check these settings for yourself. This is basically just where it's making its library. The same settings actually as we saw in the Windows photo. settings. So you'll notice that there's actually just the settings for photos. In fact, the video editor is a built-in to the Windows Photo app, so it's kind of like a sub-app within this Windows Photos app. So to begin with, the first thing we're going to do is add media to our library. And when you click on add, you'll see it gives you a few options. So collections, this PC, or from the web. I've already downloaded some stock footage that I can play around with. If you guys want to follow along, what I suggest is you just prepare some pictures and some video clips that you'd like to use, and you can follow along as we go. So I'm going to use some pictures from this PC. And another thing I'll suggest is that if you guys want to use some footage, there is a website called, well, there's many websites where you can go to find footage. So for example, Pon5 will have a place where you can actually download previews of various video clips. And so downloading a preview will let you download a lower resolution version of the video clip with this Pon5 watermark on it. And you can use that for practicing all you want. I mean, you know, so if you don't have some nice footage and you just want to quickly download some free footage to use just for practice, you can't publish this. This is, you know, it's going to have a watermark, and, you know, if you want to use this for public publication, you need to purchase it. But just for practicing, this is a great way to just have some footage to work with. So you see on this website, you can download a preview. And there's many websites that will allow you to do something like this. So you can look for stock footage websites and look for a preview video if you don't want to practice using footage of your own. So I've downloaded some stock footage that we actually have a license to. And so I'm just going to go ahead and open them. And I'll show you a few ways to do that. So the first is to just select that image or that video file and click add. But of course, sometimes you might want to do this a little bit quicker. So for example, if I select this wildlife folder, I can actually select everything in it at the same time. And it's actually going to take a minute, but it's going to add all of those files at once to my project. And this basically enables me to work with them. All right. They come in selected, so make sure you're unselecting them. And then just a few other ways to make that work that I'll just show you quickly. It would be to just drag and drop. And so let's take all of our space stuff here, and I'm just going to drag them and drop them into that media library. And it works exactly the same way. So if you have two screens set up, or if you're working side by side, this is a great way to get clips. You know, if you're exploring your video files, looking for the clips that you want to use, then you find it, you can just drag it over and drop it into that project library. That's probably my favorite way to get the photos and the videos that I want into the project, because there's no need to upload, there's no need to put video clips into here, into this media library that you're not going to use in this film. So, you know, my suggestion on the best way to do this would be to have two screens, and on one screen you have your Windows kind of Explorer window open, and on the other screen you have your video editor, and you can just drop individually, one by one, the videos and the clips that you're going to use. And that also allows you to kind of preview them before you put them in. So you can kind of click through it, open it, look at the video, decide if it's good enough. So, you know, I might come up here and double click this video and, you know, just take a quick look at it and see what it is and decide, yeah, do I want that in or not? So I'm going to say, yep, I want that in. So I'll just drag it over, right? And so these are the two methods of getting your clips ready before you can start editing them. Okay, so now that we've got all of our video clips into our library, there's a few ways we can view them. So this is basically big, and there we get some information about the time. If you hover over it, you also get the file name, which is going to be surprisingly useful. And one trick of video editing, guys, don't change the file names of anything. Keep them with their default file names. That way, if you need to find it again, you can just search for that same file name and you can find it. If you change the file names, it starts to get real confusing. All right. I'll just show you also a thing. Once you have this library open, you can also minimize it. So if you just want to focus on looking at your final project, you can kind of push that to the side. So I'm going to leave it open for now. And I'm just going to take this parrot and I'm going to double click. Sorry, not double click. I'm going to place in storyboard. All right. So this is basically going to put it onto my timeline. Now, a second way you could do that is by just dragging it and letting it go onto your timeline. And so there's multiple ways to do that. And you'll notice when I drag something down, it also gives me the option of putting it in a different order, right? So I can put it wherever I want. If I want the lizard to be first, I can put the lizard first and it automatically adjusts. And once you've put them down there, you can also drag them around. So it's no problem making minor adjustments to the order of your clips once you get them down. So now here's the problem. They are all different lengths. So this first clip is 9 seconds, this next one's 17, this next one is 10 seconds. These are too long. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click play, and you'll see that this file plays through. And it's okay, it's a long clip. And there we go, finally it transitions. So when you click play, it's actually playing your whole project here, right? So it's going to start with this one and it's going to progress through each clip. So let's say I don't want all 9 seconds of this. It's too long. So you just make sure that you've selected the clip that you want. So I'm going to select that first one, the meerkat, and I'm going to click trim. So the way trimming works is it's basically you just have to picture that the whole video clip is like a strip of photos next to each other, left to the right. And so on the leftmost is the first frame of that series of pictures that makes up your video. And as you progress through time, you move to the right and you see the later frames in the video. So basically, if we look at the bottom here, this is the beginning of the video and this is the end of the video. And what we're going to do is basically just set an in point and an out point. So if this is when we start pressing record on the camera and this is when we end pressing record on the camera, right? So start and stop recording. We don't necessarily need to be limited to that time section. So we can actually put it wherever we like, right? And so basically you'll see what I'm doing here is I'm actually adjusting the section of the clip that we're going to use. Now this dot in the middle here, this is showing you what is up here. So this is your slider. This is actually showing you the frame progressing. But this thing down here at the bottom is saying, hey, this is the part I want to use. I don't want to use this part over here. It's no good. So let me go to the whole thing, and I'm going to go to the beginning and click play. And so now we're only playing this clip. We're not playing the whole film. We're only playing this particular clip, this 9-second clip. And so let's say I decide that I don't want it to be this long. So maybe I want it to start right before he turns his head. So I'm going to drag this little thing right to before he turns his head. And so it's somewhere around... So it's a little bit laggy sometimes, so just give it a second to catch up. So it's somewhere around here. So I'm going to start roughly at 2 seconds into this clip. And it doesn't need to be precise, so I'm at 186 seconds. It's fine. Close enough. And then when he turns to the camera, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it as soon as he looks away. So somewhere around. Let's see where it is. Let me play it in real time. There we go. So I'm going to cut it around there when he kind of turns his head behind. And then let's just play to see. And every time you click play, now I'm seeing my selected clip. Okay, so that's much shorter. Now, we're going to go through these things later. So for now, we're just looking at trim. And so what we're going to say is, right now, we're done. We finished trimming the video to how we like it. So I'm just going to go ahead and click done. And you'll see that that clip's time, the duration, has now changed to 3 minutes, 13 seconds. 3 seconds, 3.13 seconds. A much faster pacing. So we have this guy, he turns, and then immediately it's going to cut to the parrot. And I think that parrot should also not be 17 seconds long. That's just a little bit too long on this parrot. So I'm going to click trim on the parrot, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have it like right as his feathers come down, he stops ruffling his feathers. I'm going to trim it there. So now the clip is about 4 seconds long. And I might even make it a little bit shorter to be more similar to the other clip. So I'm going to go done there. So I've taken it from 17 seconds to 3 seconds. And the lizard maybe will get 5 seconds, but let's see how this clip is looking. So I'm going to go trim. Let's watch the whole clip. So there's quite a bit of camera movement at the beginning, which sometimes can be nice if it's well done, and sometimes isn't nice. So in this case, I kind of like it. Like the camera kind of follows his head movement up. And I might just stop it right there. So after the camera movement kind of stops. I think that's kind of nice. It's well done. It's smooth camera movement. It's not, you know, losing focus on him. So I'm gonna trim it there. And so now if we play the whole file together, we've got this guy, he turns his head, and then we've got the parrot with the feathers, and we've got this guy. And that's it. Done. So, what you'll see is that we've actually taken a bunch of clips of various length, and we've determined our own length for those clips using our favorite particular points for it. All right? Now, here's another really important thing I need to point out. Our project, if you remember, is set to 16 by 9. However, 4K cameras in particular sometimes don't film in exactly 16 by 9. And the result of that is that you'll get these black bars at the top or the bottom of the screen. And so you'll notice that our meerkat and our lizard here both were filmed in a format that is slightly wider than widescreen. And so to fit the whole image, it's been shrunken down to fit inside our 16 by 9 aspect ratio. The parrot is perfectly filmed in 16 by 9 aspect ratio, so it's not a problem. However, for this guy, we're going to need to make sure to select this black bars option. So this little option here is basically going to scale our image to show or remove the black bars. So watch this. I'm going to click remove black bars instead of shrink to fit. And there we go. So our black bars are gone. And I'm going to come over to my lizard and do the same thing. Now, on the parrot, I don't need to do it. Because if I click remove black bars, nothing happens. You see? Because it is already exactly the same aspect ratio as our project. So it doesn't make a difference. All right? So that's how you remove those black bars. Now, what if I wanted to put the rest of this meerkat shot in again, so it comes back to the meerkat as he turns away? Well, it's not really a problem. So I can come back up here, and it's easy to find the clips I've already used because they now have this like little dog ear colored tag. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this guy in again, no problem. And now it's got the whole clip in again as per the original. And what I can do is open this one up again, trim it, and I can say, all right, my first one ended when he turned away. So where was that, about here? Let's go and play it. So he turns away. So I'm going to resume the clip from about there. And then I'll let the rest of the clip play out. And I'm going to click done. And then I'm going to make sure that my black bars are set to remove. And so now, when we play our whole thing, we've got the beginning of our meerkat. He turns away. We go to the parrot. Lizard. And we go back to the meerkat. And he turns back and looks back. And the rest of that clip plays out. All right, now look at the end of that clip is weird, right? It's like he turns and it's blurry and his eyes, like he's halfway through a blink. So I'm going to open up that trimmer again and just remove the last few frames of that clip, just because that ended really in a strange way. I'll show you again the difference now. So these are just the small things to keep an eye out for. And that's much better. See, now it's ended. He doesn't look crazy anymore. Okay, there's a second way to do that. Instead of putting the clip in 2 times and making adjustments, you can also split the clip. So I'm going to go ahead and pull another clip in. And this time, instead of trimming it, I'm going to select split. And so here, I can decide where I want to cut this clip in half. And so let's say I want to cut it. This is a pretty short clip. So let's say I'm going to cut it right when the sea lion comes underneath the turtle. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yep, I want you to trim it here. And you'll see what it's saying is it's going to make 2 clips. Clip 1 is going to be this color. Clip 2 is going to be this color. So it's going to divide these 2 clips in half. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, that looks good enough. Done. I'm going to split them there. And now I've got 2 clips. And now I can do the same thing. I can move them around separately. And they're divided right in this perfect point. And I can still open them up and now trim them individually. And you'll see it's already set. It's already got its trim set right to that point where I divided it. So let's say maybe I didn't want that at the beginning. Maybe I wanted to start it here. I can trim that in a little bit and be done with that one. And maybe the last one, I can also trim that and say, all right, do I want the whole rest of this video playing? Or maybe I want to trim it right before he disappears from the screen. Totally up to you guys. So those are the two ways in which to get the same clip coming in at different points. One, you can just do it manually, so drag it in one place, drag it in another place, and just adjust the trim to highlight different parts of your recording. Two is drag in one clip and split it into two using the split function. All right? So, super easy. Now, there's a few other things that you should consider, and that is the speed. Now, this is a pretty cool function. You can manually adjust the speed of a clip using this feature. And so what that means is you can put a clip into slow motion. Now, here's the thing. You can't slow motion a clip that isn't already in slow motion. Oh, I just showed you something else by accident without even meaning to. You can put multiple clips in at the same time if you use this select option, right? So if I select this owl, and this eagle, I can drag all three of them in together and they'll come in order like that. I'm also using the mouse wheel to scroll left and right, or you can click on these little blue arrows, or you can slide this slider at the bottom of the screen. So always many ways to do it. So let's take a look at this eagle clip. First, I'm going to get rid of those black bars and make sure I have no other black bars anywhere. Good. So let's look at this eagle clip. Oh, where are you, eagle? Yeah, we'll play it from there. So you can see that's already slow motion, right? So that's already filmed in slow motion, which means I can probably get away with slowing it down even more. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it to 0.5% speed, and let's see how that looks. And you'll notice it starts to look a little choppy. You see how it's not smooth anymore? And if I slow it down even further, watch, look what's happening now. Now it's really choppy. Look, I'm getting one frame every few seconds. You see? Frame, frame. So even though you have the speed option there, you have to be careful with it. You can't just go crazy with it. The human eye can detect flashes about 24 times every second. And that's why most cinema films, are filmed at 24 frames per second. If you have a video file that is filmed at 24 frames per second, as many cinematic people choose to film at, if you cut that in half, now you're looking at a video that's about 12 frames per second, right? So if I cut this into half, which is probably about here, we'll find that we can see all of those cuts. It's not as smooth anymore. Now, how do you know what your video file is filmed at? Well, I'll just show you a quick way to do it. And so basically, if you look at your actual file, right, the actual file in Windows Explorer that shows that particular file, if you hover over it, you'll get the size, you'll get the type of movie, but if you open it and select Properties, so right-click Properties and go to Details, usually in here you will find the frame rate. And so as you can see, this is filmed at 25 frames per second, as I suspected. Now, if a video is filmed at 60 frames per second, right, you could cut that in half. You could slow it down by 50%, and your frames per second would be now 30 frames per second. And 30 frames per second to the human eye looks totally normal. It looks completely smooth. So footage and video clips that are filmed at higher frame rates have a better ability to be slowed down in editing. But if you film at lower frame rates, like 30 FPS from the beginning, or 25 or 24 frames per second at the beginning, you can't actually slow it down that much. So we're in luck that this film was in 25 frames per second, but it's already in slow motion. If this wasn't in slow motion, we really wouldn't have been able to slow it down any further. And so you can check that for pretty much every single file. You'll always be able to right-click it, check the details, and you'll be able to see what the frame rate was. So this one is 24. 24 and 25 are pretty common for filmmakers. I personally tend to film at 60 frames per second, simply because it gets me more data, but that really depends on your camera and what it can do. All right? I was hoping we have a 60 frame per second one in here, but I don't think we do. All right, so that's the discussion on the speed. There might be some cases in which we can slow it down a little bit, and I think typically if you want to slow something down, you can always slow it down like by to about 0.75%. So that's close to 0.7, and you like that should be okay. Like, this doesn't look that great. It's a little bit choppy because, again, we're now going under 25 frames per second, but it's not terrible. For me, I'm just going to be satisfied with the normal 1x speed. And of course, there's never anything wrong with speeding something up. Speeding something up is easy. You can always make things go faster. Although, be careful because this is 64 times, so it goes up much faster than it goes down. This is not the same rate. This is just going down, you know, by percentages, but this is now going up by many, many times. So this is already 4 times faster. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. So now we're speeding up slow motion, and you'll never have a problem with speeding up footage. The reason why they give you the option to go all the way up to 64 is for time lapses. If you have a long video of a star, right, you know, a starry night, or a sunrise or something like that, you could basically automatically tell Windows, hey, I want this to go 64 times faster than usual, and it's kind of going to blur together into this beautiful time-lapse video clip. So that's how speed works. All right, I think we're good enough on knowing the basics editing of this timeline editor. It's pretty simple. It's pretty standard. I think it's clear enough for you guys. So let's see what else we can do with this tool. And the first and most important thing is going to be music. And so to do that, we're going to come up here to background music. And all of these songs, all right, are free songs. They are just included with Windows. They are not that great. And there's not that many of them, as you can see. There's only a small amount. But the great thing is that you don't have to worry about copyright. You don't have to worry about licensing or crediting, nothing. You just put it on. And so by clicking the play button, you'll hear a little preview. And they have different styles. You know, they've got more classic ones, so that one sounds really nice for some more nature stuff. The volume is important, and one of the biggest problems that I have with this program is that when you set the volume, it sets it for the whole track, right? You can't have it be louder here and quieter here, and I find that to be very annoying, all right? That's something that I actually dislike about this program when compared to more professional programs, but if you set it low enough, it should be fine for somebody to talk over or something like that, and I'll show you how to do that later. So now if we go and we look at our video, where's our music? Oh, I have to find it again. Yes, so done. So did it go in? Oh, it is. It's just very quiet. Oops, that was custom audio. Sorry, I'll show you that later. Oh, again, man, I always click the wrong button. So we'll put it a little bit higher on the volume scale, just so we can hear it. And music will absolutely bring your videos to life. It doesn't matter what kind of video it is, music will make it 1,000 times more professional. Notice some of these later shots don't feel right because they're too long. People get bored if they have to wait around too long on a single clip, especially if the music is progressing along. It wants to change. All right, so that's why this trimming tool is so useful, right? So I can look at this and see, you know what, maybe seeing these two again was a little bit too much. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select both of these clips and I'm going to just go ahead and delete them. And again, you're not deleting them, you're not deleting the real file from your computer, you're just removing them from your timeline, so it's not a risk to do that. I'm then going to come back to my turtle clip and actually trim it to the entire length, so we get that full turtle clip. Alright? Or maybe not the full turtle clip, let's make it a little bit shorter than that. There we go. 7 seconds. That seems to be, we shouldn't probably go longer than that in this little training video. Now, I could go through this and manually set all my timings. You're welcome to do that. In fact, that's a nice way to make sure that your video looks the way you want it to look. You know, sometimes you're going to want clips to be longer. Sometimes you're going to want clips to be shorter. However, there is a useful little trick that this program can do, which is that it can automatically sync your music to the tracks. And that's a pretty cool feature. So if I select this and I click done, my timings, you'll see, have all changed, right? But what happens is it kind of tries to transition on the beat. You see that? So it's adapting your edit to match the music, and you don't have to do everything. That's just using the power of AI and machine learning. So now, me being more picky than that, I won't use that feature. I'll just manually decide how long I want each clip to play. But it's important to know that you do have this feature, and it is also important to note that it will change your cut. If I move this around, right, it won't work the same. So if you sync the background music, right, just be aware that moving things around can change your cut, right? It can make it appear differently. It can make it sound different. So be careful. If you delete a track or add a new track, it can make some strange adjustments. So that's one of the advantages of using the automatic mode compared to doing it manually. If you do it manually, you have to go back through and always check to make sure your timing works with the music. And so, you know, if I change a timing over here, it's not so important because I'm going into my video. But if I then make a change at the beginning of the video, right? If I change the duration of this clip at the beginning of the video, all my timings later on down the track will be adjusted by that timing when compared to the music. So you have to bear that in mind, is if you are going to use manual control over the timing like I do, you want to make sure that you kind of finalize your earlier clips off on and then work your way to the right. Any changes that you make at the beginning, you'll kind of have to fill those holes with new stuff if you end up deleting something, or if you add something, you'll need to kind of rebalance out the duration of the clip by using the trim function to try to get the timing back to its original matching point. Hopefully that was clear, but essentially I'm just talking about syncing your cuts when you transition from one track to another, having those cuts synced with the music. If you're doing that manually, you have to be very careful about changing tracks towards the beginning, because that will affect everything to the right of them. Okay? So let's go on now, and I'm just going to add a few more random clips here. And yeah, I'm just doing this randomly, really, for now. These are all pretty short, so no problem. I'll add another bear over here. And so now what we want to do is we want to look at what we can do with these clips. So I'm going to come to our, let's go to our clip with the universe here. And it's automatically trimmed it way down to like 2 seconds. I'm going to make it like 10 seconds for a second here. I'll say done. All right. And play from here. Actually, this is a bad example. Let's use our 2 snakes here. So first I'm going to get rid of the black bars. And let me just see what the trim is. Yeah, we can make that a little bit longer so his head's moving around a bit. Good. All right. So we've got our snake. So yeah, nice. So, where's our black bars remover? Remove black bars. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open this this particular clip. Now, you can open it by clicking any of these things here, right? Not speed. Speed will change it right here. But if I click trim, split, it'll open that video's editor, right? So I'm going to go ahead and this time click on motion. And so you'll see there are those same options there. So trim, text, motion, 3D effects, 3D filters. So we're going to start with motion because this is probably the more useful one. And this is basically when you have still images, especially if you have still images that you're putting in like a slideshow, or if you have video images but the camera is quite still. In some cases, that's fine. But sometimes it's nice to add a little motion to the camera. And so you'll see in this one, we have a very subtle amount of motion from the camera, but we could make this more interesting. So for example, we have zoom to center. And so now if we click on it, the camera is actually, I don't know if you can tell, but it's slowly zooming in. And then we've got zoom out from the center. And so now the camera starts in and it's zooming out, and that looks much nicer. We also have zoom into the left, which might be nice because the snake's head on the left is moving. So if I click zoom in left, now the camera is kind of zooming closer in to that snake on the left. It's very subtle, but it is there. So you've got all these little motion options that give you the ability to add a little bit of motion to your camera. And they're very slow because sudden movements don't look good in video. Like, we don't like it. The human eye doesn't like it. So we've got pan right, pan left. I think I'm going to do pan left, so it's kind of like panning is just sliding the camera. So it's zooming in a tiny bit at the beginning and it's rotating to the left. Actually, I think the zoom out was still the best. We're going to do zoom out from the left. So it's starting in on the snake on the left and it's pulling out. There we go. So as you can see, they're very subtle effects. You might notice it more on a more stationary clip. So let's try adding some motion to this bear. Let's see how this bear looks. Okay, so you can see this clip is already panning to the left. So I'm going to try adding a zoom out. Zoom out from the right because the bear's over there on the right hand side. And that's nicer. So now the camera starts a little bit cropped in, and throughout the clip it pulls back a little tiny bit. So you're very subtle effects, but you can do some nice things to add some good effects to it. And that one really definitely needed to shrink. I don't know what aspect ratio this is that is coming in with a black bar on the top but not the bottom. But yeah, remove black bars for sure. All right, let's check this bear. So a younger bear by the looks of it. So the camera is panning to the left, and then the bear gets spooked and runs away, and the camera pans to the right. Well, we can zoom in on the right to follow him as he pans away. So let's see how that looks. Oh, let me open that up again. So we're zoom in on the right. So the camera is slowly getting closer to the bear throughout the shot. And then the bear runs away and we're zoomed in on the right. So it's a little bit closer up to him. And, you know, the reason these are subtle too is because if you zoomed in too much, then the image would lose its quality. So that's motion. It's very nice, especially for more static shots where you might actually notice it a little bit more than these moving shots. Let's do the parrot. That's one last example on motion. So here's this parrot. The camera's not moving at all, right? So parrot's holding perfectly still. So let's do a zoom out from center. And you see how it punches in? And now the camera starts pulling back. You can tell if you look at, for example, this feather here at the bottom, this little blue feather. Watch it when you start the thing, the camera is covering it, and then the camera zooms out to reveal more and more of it. So those are nice little subtle effects to add some life and movement to your shots. There's a nice still shot. Let's add some movement to that. Actually, we might trim this one first, so I'm going to come over to trim and see how this goes. Does this owl move at all in this clip? Be great if we could find him moving. Oh, there he goes. He turns to the camera. So from here to here, he's turning. That's a better motion. That's why it's important to check the trim. So now let's add some motion, and we're going to do a zoom into the center. So we'll zoom into this face. See that slow zoom in? Oh, it's so much nicer. It's a very subtle effect, but it's so much nicer. I'll just remove it again so you can see it with none. So here's it with no effect. It's perfectly still. Nothing is moving. And then the camera tilts down a tiny bit at the end, but that's that. Zoom into the center. Now you have this nice, you see the background is like moving out of the frame as we zoom in on this beautiful face. So you can add very subtle movements to make your shots look so much more dramatic. Alright, let's go to this long shot of space, and we're going to do text. So not only can you trim the clip, add motion to it, but you can also add text. And this is great if you wanted to add some title information or a species name or a location. Now the downside of this is that this is a very limited text editor. There's not much you can do here. So first you choose your animated text style, and there's not much, as you can see. That's it. Those are all the styles. However, they're okay. There's plenty of options. And whatever you pick, so let's go with classic, or we'll go with cinema. Whatever you pick, you type your text in the top. If you want it to be all capitals, you just type it in all capitals. And so whatever you select here will affect the behavior of this or the design of this text pop-up. And so you can kind of click through them all, and we're not only choosing the font here, we're choosing the whole shebang, right? So it's an animation and everything. So for example, if we were to play this, look how this comes in. You see? This is not static text. This is animated text, right? So it's actually animating in using this effect. And in this one, it's called Joy. Let's see what classic is. So classic comes in like this. Now what about the location of the text? Well, that's determined by the layout down here. So as you can see, we have it set to bottom. You can also set it to top, left, right, or center and title 2. So you've got title 1 and title 2. So let's start with title 1. So this is what it looks like when it's just in the middle using title 1 and the classic layout. So it kind of blurs out the background, which I really like. It puts a nice big title in the middle, and then it disappears. Now the duration of that animation is set here. And you can also have it not come in the beginning. So you can have it wait a little bit, and then it comes in, and then it goes out. So I'm going to stretch it out like that, and let's see what that looks like. Much nicer. You can see it needed that space to fade in and out. If you made it too small, it didn't have enough space to do its animation. That's from the top. What if I do this option? It looks a little bit different, as you can see. So a different style, a different effect. This is like option number 2. And then we've got top, which looks like, let's see what top looks like. I'm just dragging this thing. So top falls in from the top. Bottom, we already saw, that comes up from the bottom. And let's do left side. Let's see what left side looks like. Okay, and right side, as you can imagine. There you go. Now there's a few things that you can do to trick this thing. So first of all, you can type here as much as you want. If you type a lot, it will start getting, you'll see, you can press enter, and it's going to get smaller and smaller. So the more you type, the smaller it's going to get. And so what that means is that you can do some little tricks by using the enter function. So let's say I wanted this thing to be a bit smaller, or spread out. I can use the enter key and then adding some other little text elements just to push things up. You know, let's say I wanted this to be much smaller than that. Look what I've just done. So I just put a little period up here, and now I push this text down, and then I put a period down here, and just by pressing enter, I can kind of adjust, I can kind of force it to scale to the space. So those are some useful tricks. However, all of that is just using this layout. And so you can experiment with these different layouts to see how they work, because they all have kind of different styles, different looks, different behaviors. And by the way, spacebar will pause and play your video, and I'm just thinking that I have it, it's a little bit too long for just this is space. I'm just going to put this in space. And you can mess around and see how all of these things work. They're all different. Here we've got this. I can't even read that. So there's all sorts of different options that you can experiment with. I don't like serif fonts. These are serifs, these little things that stick off the edge of letters. This is the big bold one. I always like big bold fonts. And see, even it has a little animation. You've got different versions of it. That's a smaller one. So title number 2. That's good. Let's see what fresh looks like. Okay, I think we saw that one already. So fresh on the top comes in like that, and on the bottom comes in down there. What does left and right look like? Okay, so it puts a gray. So you can experiment with all of these and see how these all work. Don't use cartoon. That's a no-no. So fine print also is just going to make it quite small. So this could be like, for example, adding credits to photos or videos. You could use this fine print and adjust it to the bottom. Right? This is also a great way if you wanted to quickly put in some subtitles without using the proper subtitling editor. You can just kind of cheat by adding subtitles this way. Just please note that because this is not a professional video editor, this will only add it on this particular track. So you can't have subtitles that go across to another track. You would have to just have this one go almost to the end or to the end, and then kind of put a dash. So if I was like this is a subtitle of someone speaking, but they didn't finish before, and then we can have like some sort of little dot like that, some sort of dash like that, right? Yeah, and some of them will align to the left, some of them will be centered. So yeah, you have to, decide what you want to do and figure it out. So then you could go over, you could say done, and then you would go to your next track and go ahead and add the rest of that text in the same style, right? The clip ran out of time. Done. And so now these two clips together, this is a subtitle of someone speaking, but they didn't finish before. That's a very long, the clip ran out of time. Oh, that's a very short clip, only 0.6 seconds. But you get my idea, right? So, this is how you add text to existing videos, all right? All right, that's a little bit faster. So that's how you add text and title cards on top of existing videos. Let's put a title on this one to make it look nice. So we'll go to text, and we'll go to, what's boom? And what's this big one? Practice video. Ooh, that's an awesome effect. I like that. Look at that, the video showing through. Again, you can also, if you want these two to show up on two lines and they're not, like let's say it's showing up like this. I'm just misspelling video so that it shows up. What if I wanted these two to be on top of each other? No point, no problem. Just press enter and you can force it to be on the next line, right? So practice video. Oh, that's a really cool title. I really like that. And you see how simple it is. You could, imagine what you could do, and like, oh, that's not long enough, really. Might need to trim this video to make it. There we go. Yeah, how cool is that? Let's trim this video to make it a little bit longer since we've added a title to it. Okay, done. And we'll go back into the text. Let's see how that looks. Come on. Sometimes it gets buggy like this and you don't see that nice animation coming in. Oh, you can also click and drag the whole thing if you want to move the timing of when that starts. So I might move it to when he looks at you. There we go. Beautiful. A lovely little title intro. So let's play from the beginning. And we can go full screen on this. Full screen. See, right when that music came in, the shot should have changed. So I'm going to listen to this again. You see what I mean? The music changes, but the clip doesn't change. And that's because I'm using manual clip timing, not the automatic one that changes with the sound of the music. So I'm going to try to make this match, and you guys can kind of learn, hopefully, how this works. So it starts at about 9:30. 9 seconds, 870. Yeah, it starts at about 9 seconds. Just under 9 seconds. And the music comes in at 1160. So 9. So we want it to be about 2.5 seconds long, this clip, and it's set to 4:37. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this clip down to about 2 and a little bit more than 1/2 seconds. That's just estimating based on the time. And let's see if that makes it transition a little bit nicer. There we go. See? Now the nice music comes in and it goes straight to the turtle. So that's the kind of, meticulous work you would need to do if you wanted to have your music transition nicely on the beats. You don't have to do that. It's just a stylistic choice. I think it adds a more natural flow to the way videos progress. All right, so we've got an introduction title card. It looks good. We've got some text on the images. Let's go ahead and just quickly put like a species ID thingy on this. So we'll say this is a I'm actually not 100% sure if this is a green sea turtle. I'm just guesstimating because they're pretty common. Commonly filmed. And that is not a nice looking thing in this layout. So let's try. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Now again, you'd want to kind of try to match your style, right? So I don't want to be changing around the fonts all over the place. So I'm going to try this boom thing, which I really like, because I really like that negative space. Yeah, that looks nice. I think I'm going to use this one at the bottom there. And it doesn't need to stay in that long, so I'm going to shrink it down a little bit so that it fades out. And you know what? We'll make this text more accurate. Sea turtle meets a sea lion. At least there I know I've got my species correct, even though I haven't given the exact species. I know that's a sea turtle and I know that's a sea lion. Much better. So I mean, think about the kind of stuff that you could produce for your organization or your project or your team, that you're doing. I'm gonna go ahead and remove these text. We're gonna just get rid of that. So we don't need any text on these two. That was just to show you how to add subtitles if you wanted to. Yeah, so removing text is just as simple as deleting it from there. All right, so that's adding text on top of videos. But what if we just wanted a text card? Super easy. You just click on this, add title card. So you're going to click on this, and what it's going to do is it's going to create this blank video. And so you'll notice that instead of being a video clip, it just shows this thing called title card. It's going to pull this default color out, which don't worry, you can edit it. And you can do the same sorts of things to it. So here you have duration, text, and background. And you can move it around just as usual. So duration is, again, that's the time. So you can set exactly how many seconds you want it to be. So let's say we want it to be 3 seconds. Those are kind of some defaults. Or you can set it exactly. And you'll notice that the maximum default is 7 seconds. So just bear that in mind, right? If the maximum default is 7 seconds, just keep that in mind. Like humans, we really like things to move along. So unless you really need to have a longer interview or something, it's usually not advisable to have things stay on screen for too long. One of the downsides of this program is that you cannot have the audio of a clip, like an interview, play with other videos on top of it. We only have one timeline here, so we can't put, videos on top of somebody's interview. That is one of the limitations of this software. But it is free and it is fast. So yeah, so we've just added a title card, and now we can add the text to it, and that works exactly the same way as before. So we'll use this one, and we'll say, whatever, something like that. And you can set your you could have it come out a bit earlier. And now, so you see how, because I added it here, all that editing that I did to have the music come in on the sea turtle is gone, right? Because the sea turtle has been pushed to the right. So that's why I was mentioning before that you want to have your get your sound edits done first before you start messing around with it too much. If you're going to do it that way, again, you can always just go the simple route and tell it to sync to the music's beat. If you do it manually, it's different, but otherwise you can tell it to sync to the music's beat. Right. So the other thing is, of course, background. So this is very easy. You just change the background color. So no surprise here, nothing complicated. And then the other option is to use a custom color. So you can actually pick a color yourself from this slider. Unfortunately, I don't believe there's any way to like put a hex code in. So you just have to match it roughly. All right. So that's adding a title. And again, then the text works exactly the same as before. So you pick your layout for your text, you pick your animated text style, and that's it. Now you've got your text title. And so that might be good for, like, at the end of the video, you might add a title card, put that at the end, and you might put, like, your website on it, something like, right? Something like that. And you could, decide how you want it to appear. And that's gonna wrap up our title card. So there we go. So we've got a little short practice video that we've done there. I'll just briefly show you if you wanted to put photos in, right? How you would do that. So again, you just select on this PC, and you'd get your photo. So we'll use this vulture picture. We'll use the vulture picture. We'll use the giant ibis. That's better. And it comes in here just like any other media that you're adding, right, to your video. And you drag it in the same way. And now we've got, because this is a 4:3 photo, we need to add the option to remove the black bars. So it's going to crop in to remove those black bars. And because it's a photo also, we need to set the duration. So I'm going to just leave it using the automatic timing. And then what I also need to do is add some motion to make this feel alive, because otherwise it will feel a bit strange. So I'm going to tell it to pan to the left, so it's panning towards the bird. See that? There we go. Beautiful. My automatic timings are doing their thing. Alright, so that's adding a photo to it. And so, once you've done this, you're kind of coming towards the end of the work on your video. There's a few other things that you can just have a look at, but are not that important. So the last thing really to show you is filters. And again, that is, as you would expect, like any filter platform, right? You've got your kind of lighting effects, right? So let's find a nice slide to look at. So there's original. Then there's this classic look, adventure look. I like that. That's very cinematic looking, right? It kind of mutes the colors, gives it that gray thing. Very nice. Pearl is a bit blue. Denim is also a bit blue. Iceberg also a bit blue. Ooh, that's very cinematic as well. I tend to like these ones that kind of mute the colors a little bit, or give it that kind of warmer hue. Looks very cinematic. Sepia is gonna give it that old-fashioned look. Inky is literally black and white. Energy looks like it's gonna boost those colors. Joy, ooh, that's very strange coloring. Loved, that looks nice too. A little bit strange coloring. Pixelated, I have no idea why you would need to do this. And arcade, it looks like an old school video game. I don't know why you would ever need to do those two, but they're there. I like, which one did I like? So this is the original, that's Brassy, original, adventure, original, energy, original, classic. I think I like Brassy and adventure the most. I'm gonna go with Brassy. Very nice, yeah. I can make that clip a little bit longer, actually. Remember that this does affect your automatic timings, right? So it will impact the other clips around it, but that's okay. It's a nice shot. Very nice. So those filters can also really help if you... I just realized, I think... Yes, indeed. My timing is too long. So just be careful. This program is a little bit laggy, so you might find that you've made your clip longer than you intended. Much better. All right. So yeah, so you've put your video together. You're ready to go. Those filters can be quite useful, right? You want to give your whole video a kind of unified look. So if you can try to make it match across your videos just by matching the color. If you have a shot that's like particularly blue, you could try adding a filter to kind of like help it match the rest of your scene. Yeah, see so in this case, like Brassy wouldn't work. It's too gray. It just grays it out too much. It's not nice. So in this case, original to adventure is quite nice. Original is just really hard blue there. Somebody already colored it. So adventure would make it kind of a little bit muted and help it match that bird shot that we'd done. And you could kind of continue that whole philosophy down along the project, right? So just trying to find filters that will make it match. So again, Brassy's too much there, but adventure is also a little bit too much. Yeah, adventure's okay. And if it's good enough as it is, in this case, the original is probably fine. So I'll just leave the original. But yeah, use those filters to kind of help match the look of your video across the video if you can. Okay, I think we've gone through everything. So trim, split, text, motion, 3D effects. This is not really something that you should use. These are very gimmicky. So I wouldn't recommend this. Let me go to a better clip to give you more of an idea. We'll go to our owl here. So you can search your effects library, or you can find these effects. And so as you can see, you add an effect. It says attach to a point, have it follow a point in your video. Okay, got it. And so if you click attach to a point, it is going to actually analyze the video, and you have to anchor it to a particular point in the video, right? So if we were to anchor it to his beak, for example, it's going to like reload it. It has to analyze the whole video. And now we have this silly effect, this very, very silly effect. And let's move it down a bit there. So I don't see why. This is just so silly. So you can rotate them around. These are actually three-dimensional effects, so you can rotate them in 3 dimensions. This is a bad example because we can't actually see anything. Let's do the butterflies. So we can again change the duration of the butterflies. And You can play them to see, and now we've got silly butterflies going through. I mean, this is just so silly. But you never know. You might find something that works for your video, but I'll tell you what, I don't see it. So if it was me, I wouldn't do it. And then you've also got the 3D library, so like, you know, just to show you how absolutely ridiculous this is. Here's Megalodon. And here he is, and we can rotate him and so on and so on, and we'll make him go there, and now we have Megalodon just sitting in our video. Some of these even move. This one doesn't appear to move, but some of these will even move. Basically, these are really gimmicky. You might find a use for them if you're making like an educational video for kids. In that situation, you might find something useful there because, again, they're cute and they're funny, and there's all sorts of things. So here's outdoors and nature as a whole bunch of random little 3D elements. So there might be some application for using this kind of stuff. I just... The only thing that I can think of is making educational videos for very young audiences. You know, for professional filmmaking, this isn't really a useful feature as far as I can see. Like, I just don't know why you would need some of these stuff. I mean, unless you're making your own custom three-dimensional stuff that is applicable to your landscape or your species. This is pretty... Like, what is that? Just a random 3D landscape there. So strange. So, as you can see, I'm not a big fan. But they are there, and you should know about them, just so you know. So I'm going to remove them, and I'll click... yeah, so you've got the effects, which are kind of like little highlighting things, and confetti, and explosions, and whatever. All sorts of things. I guess you could do like a snowy effect if you wanted to talk about that. You could do a fire effect if you wanted to talk about climate change, but... I don't know, man. It's just not my... You know, if it played, some of them... I remember some of them used to play. Yeah, like there we go. That one. You know, in that respect, I can imagine more uses for it. But just having, like, static 3D objects, I don't see it. So at least this one is, like, animated, right? So you could do some fun things with that, I guess. So few other things is custom audio. You can go and input music that you already own or you already have license to. Or even better, you could create a separate recording of your narration with music. And that way you could balance the music with the narration. You could have interviews that come in. So you could just use an audio editing program to edit together some audio files and export that as just a WAV file or an MP3 file and open that here and add it here. So rather than using this program to create audio, like complex audio files, which it really doesn't do, you just import a single audio file exactly it is, and then you edit your video to fit that. So that would be one way in which I would recommend using this, is if you do have an interview, just export that video's interview as separate audio and then use a free audio program to kind of put them together with the background music, with the narration, and with any other sound effects or anything you wanted to add, and then just create its own brand new audio file and put that in here. That would be my trick to doing that. And unfortunately, we're not going to cover audio production in this because I don't really know anything about it. It's not my expertise. But there are plenty of free ways to record your voice. So for example, voice recorder. A built-in free Windows app right here. You just need a good microphone and you can record your voice straight from here. So I'm going ahead and I'm going to record this test sample right now. And let's go ahead and click stop. And then I'm going to click play straight from here. So I'm going ahead and I'm going to record this test sample right now. And let's go ahead and click stop. So there we go. It's as easy as that. And then you can rename it, you know, test. And you could combine multiples of those together using a separate audio editing program. Right, so now you're finally ready to actually produce this video, to export it. And so you're going to come up here to finish video. And you have a few options. So you have the smallest file size, the medium, and the high. I would always obviously recommend high. And then for more options, this is only if you have a GPU, a graphics card, or a video card, a dedicated one. You can check this to use hardware accelerated encoding, and that will use your video card to make the export faster. And you click export, and it's as simple as that. It's going to pop up with a little place to ask you where you want to save it. So in this case, I'll save it to my desktop, I guess. And we'll call it test video 1. And it takes a while to export. Not in my case, because I have a machine specifically built for 4K professional video editing, so this is going to be very quick. In yours, it might take a little bit of time, but usually it's not taking that much time because this is a very straightforward and simple editor, right? There's really not that much complicated color grading, special effects, 3D animation stuff. It's just simple videos and titles and a music track to go with it. So it usually should take, even regular computers, even very simple laptops should be able to handle this no problem. And there you go. You've got your video. Now you can upload it to Facebook, you can upload it to YouTube, and wherever you want to put it, you can now put it there. So that's how easy it is to create short, simple, professional looking videos, but we're not quite done yet. There's a few other things we need to discuss. And so I'm going to go ahead and close this project. The project is saved, by the way. If you want to open that again, you just go back to your video editor. You open it like that, and it's going to come up with your project list here, right? So if I click on this, boom, it's there. No saving required. It's just done. It just automatically saves, so it's great. You can click back to your particular video projects list by selecting this video editor button from the top of your timeline here. And you can make a new project. You can duplicate the project as mentioned before. You can import a project from another place. You can remove the project. So you can do all sorts of things. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and close video editor. There's my test video number 1. So it's just an MP4 and we can see it's 1 minute long. If I look at the properties and the details, I can see that it's at 30 frames per second. It's 1920 by 1080. This program does not do 4K editing. I'm sorry. So you're stuck at HD. And yeah, it'll give you all the other information about the file size and everything. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is where to get music, sound effects, video tracks, all that kind of stuff. And so the first thing I wanted to show you is Free Music Archive. Actually, before I show you that, I actually need to show you this. Now, something that people need to understand is that music, video, photos that are available online do not give you permission to use them for whatever you feel like using them for. That's not how it works. Just because somebody shares something online does not give you permission to steal it. So, understanding copyright, licensing, and intellectual property is an important thing if you're going to start producing your own, right? Because you don't want people stealing your stuff. And as such, as a producer of intellectual property, you also need to respect other people's intellectual property. If you go to Google Image and you search for wildlife, you do not have the right to use these images here. If you think that you can use it if you put the artist's credit or copyright mark on it, and that's fine, that's wrong. You can't just take somebody's image and do what you want with it and give them credit. That's not enough. That's not how copyright works. So one of the ways in which you can use people's content is going to, in Google Images, going to Tools and click on Usage Rights and make sure that Creative Commons licenses is selected. And what Creative Commons licenses means is that it's going to filter these images for images that were uploaded with a Creative Commons license. And you'll see that they all now say licensable, right? Licensable. So all these little tags here say licensable. These you can use, but only if you follow the terms and conditions of the license. And so there's a few conditions to that. And so if you click on it, so this one is from Wikimedia Commons, which is a great place to actually find licensable files. You will be able to download all the file sizes, the original file sizes of this image. So here's the biggest one. However, look at what it says about information about reusing. If you select this, it was actually going to scroll you to this section. You can also just scroll down here and see right here, licensing. It actually tells you what license he has used for this image. So this file is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 4.0 International. Well, what the heck is that, you might ask? It's a Creative Commons license, and this is what it allows you to do. So in this case, you are free to share, copy, distribute, and transmit the work, or even to make adjustments and to change it, which could be like adding it to a video, adding music behind it, under the following conditions. You must give appropriate credit to the original author, provide a link to this license, so you have to actually link this thing here, and indicate if changes were made. You may do so in any reasonable manner, but not in a way that suggests the licensor endorses you or your use. And then share alike is if you remix, transform, or build upon the material, you must distribute your contributions under the same or compatible license. So that means you can't take somebody's work that has licensed it under Attribution Share Alike 4.0, put it into something else, and then license that under different conditions. You can't do that. It would have that the thing that you've changed by adding music to it or adjusting its color or cropping it, if you were to re-upload that, it would have to be under this same license, and you'd have to note that you did make changes, and you'd have to link here and not suggest that the licensor is endorsing your change. So it's complicated, but it's important to understand because this is somebody's property. You can't just take it and use it. The same thing applies to music, to photos, and to videos that you can find online. You can't just take stuff from the internet and use it. You have to make sure you're doing it legally. So how to do that? How do you do that? Well, first of all, you should, before anything else, you should go to Creative Commons and just understand these licenses, right? There are various types of Creative Commons licenses. So this is the license that the guy had mentioned, right? Attribution 4.0 International. So the shorthand of this is CC BY 4.0. So you would just link this. You can link directly to this page. And as you'll see here, there's different versions of this, right? So in here, you have the full conditions for this license. And when you see other versions of CC licensing, it will link you to other pages where you have other sorts of licenses, right? And so you can read through all of this and understand the different licenses, all right? Because these are important things to understand about intellectual property. All right, so it's good to read it through at least once so you have a rough understanding of it, and then after that, it's pretty clear what each of the different licenses in CC are. All right, so after understanding that, for music, there's a few places to go to, and the first one I want to show you is the audio library. And the reason I want to show you the audio library is that these are all free. There's no need to license, there's no need to worry about CC, these are public domain. And what public domain means is that no crediting or licensing is required. It's just in the public. It's out there. Anybody can do anything with it, right? Now, you can also read this to make sure you understand YouTube's terms of service. However, these tracks are made freely available for anybody who wants to do anything creative with them. And so right over here, you can download them. Oh, here's the license type. You see this little YouTube button? So you are free to use this audio track in any of your videos, including videos that you monetize. No attribution is required, and click to view the details. So there's the full details. It doesn't, there's no, that's it. You don't have to credit anything. And as you can see, this is a copyright-free track. You can do whatever you want with it. You can select the artist to see more tracks from him. You also have the genre and the mood that you can filter by. And you can see the date added, and you can click on the date for some reason, you click on the date to download it. I don't know why that is the case. So that's a nice little song, so I'm going to go ahead and download that. It'll just save to your computer, and you should save this in a folder called YouTube Audio Library Music, right? And so if I wanted to, I could now import that file into my little video editor track. Go ahead and pause it over here, and I'm going to go custom audio, add audio file, And we'll add that track, and there we go. Yeah, you could put background music in, and then you could later add a narration track. That's awesome. But again, just bear in mind, you set this background music, you set this track volume one time, so you can't change it around the narration. So you'd have to put it kind of lower if you have a narrator speaking throughout much of the time. So I'm going to turn off the background music, so I've set it to none. And the custom audio, we've added this one thing. So this is the first one I wanted to show you because everything on here, typically, you can check the license, but everything on here is going to be pretty much public domain, no attribution required when it comes to music for your films. And there are thousands and thousands of songs, and they keep adding more. As you can see, all of these were added in November. The next one I want to show you is Free Music Archive. In particular, you have some really amazing artists here. Kai Engel is one of my favorites. This is one of my favorite filmmakers here, sound makers here. Makes really nice sounding tracks. I've used this one before. Now, about using these things. So how do you do that? So first of all, you've got your download button there. And how do you know about the license agreement for it? Well, everything on here is going to be essentially licensed under Creative Commons licensing. So it's not public domain, it's CC. That means you have to credit it, you have to link him, you have to do all of that, and that needs to be in the credits of the film as well as in the information underneath your video if you put it online on Facebook or something. All right, so just bear in mind that you need to do that for each track that you do. And once you're looking at somebody's page on Free Music Archive, you can see the information about the licensing over here. So license and more. The info is here. And so here we have the CC BY-NC. So it's a different Creative Commons license, but when you select it, here you can see the conditions. And so in this case, this is a different Creative Commons license. This is non-commercial. NC basically means it cannot be used for any money making at all. So you can't put it in a fundraising video. You can't monetize the video. You're not allowed to profit from his work. However, you can share it, you can adapt it, and you can use it to promote a message or make your video look more amazing. So those are the conditions that he has set for his music that he's giving away for free. So just remember, these are professionals giving their stuff away for you for free to make amazing artwork with or amazing messages with. So just respect the terms of their license, please. Right. So next thing I want to show you is Storyblocks. This stuff is not free. However, they have both the option to buy individual clips as well as music, After Effects templates, animated backgrounds. You have video, audio, and images. And so it's a huge platform. And for legally registered nonprofits, you can actually get a discount. And so Fauna in Focus has a subscription with them, which costs us about $400 a year. And with that, we have unlimited use for life of anything that we download and use, which is a great deal when you consider that other websites you might pay anywhere from $60 to $100 for a single song. So this is a great kind of package subscription service that allows you to use their video footage for stock footage. If you were talking, we did a whole climate change film using probably about 75 to 80% stock footage because, of course, we couldn't travel the whole world with our tiny team to film different, ecosystems in different parts of the world and how the climate is impacting it. So using this platform to find stock footage was a great resource. And they also have music here as well. And for larger NGOs, these kind of budgets are easily affordable. And again, if you cancel your subscription after the first year, you can still use all that stuff that you downloaded, and you can use that forever for new projects. You just can't download more new stuff. All right. So that's storyblocks.com. The next one I wanted to showcase is Premium Beat. So again, they've got different deals. There's subscription-based options. There's single track options. There's a lot of really good songs here that you can find. Here's Free Sound. These are also going to be sometimes public domain and sometimes Creative Commons. So again, just make sure that you're checking the license for each one. But in general, these are a great place to find different songs. So let's see, what is cinematic? So it's just sound. at Free Sound. Music Bed, this is one that we use, actually. This is got some really professional sounding tracks and artists in here. Some of this stuff is used in BBC and National Geographic, so this is some pretty high quality stuff. Tribe of Noise is another place where you might find sound effects, but also songs as well. This is actually closely related to Free Music Archive. They're kind of working together now. Pond 5 does both music, sound effects, and footage. It's a little bit on the pricier side when it comes to the individual clips. However, and they don't have a subscription thing yet, unless... Oh, it looks like they do have a subscription thing yet. I would say, however, that the quality of music is lower on Pond 5. I've tended to find that these types of music that you get here are a little bit more synthetic and less original artistry. Artlist is, again, a great place for subscription-based music. And the great thing about this one is that it pre-clears a lot of the videos. So once you sign your license and download your clips, you put them in your video, you're good to go. So YouTube won't give you trouble with it down the line. Facebook won't give you trouble. They've been automatically cleared. And Audio Jungle is the last one. So I've used this for a few key projects that I've done. And I think it's called Envato Market now, but it used to be called an Audio Jungle. So just keep that in mind. Envato Market, Audio Jungle. Yeah, for photos, again, don't forget, if you want to put some photos in your video, you have 3 very useful websites that are entirely public domain. So everything in here is no attribution required. This is public domain images, and you can use these to make really nice looking presentations or videos or slideshows. So you've got pixabay.com, unsplash.com, and pexels.com. So great place to find stock footage for your projects. And guys, I think that's going to wrap up our video on video making. I know it was a long one, but for sure this is going to be an important one for a lot of people. If you missed something, go back and check through the videos. I've got the timestamps below for the different sections of what we were doing. And feel free to watch it again and repeat it and practice on your own until you get good at this. It's a free tool. It's already in your computer. You just need to start using it. So best of luck out there making those films and getting your messages out to people. Catch you guys in the next video.